So you've always wanted that son, or you've always wanted that daughter, and you're going to become a parent, come hook or crook, but you want to be the parent to the gender child that you really want. Is that possible? Imagine if you could choose your baby's gender beforehand. Yeah, there are parents who prefer having only sons or only daughters, or alternating between boy first and girl second, or girl first and boy second, or whatever the case may be. It kills the surprise, but a lot of people want it. Is it possible? Well, stick around and we'll talk about it. Hello, my name is Corlandos Scott, and I'm an assisted reproductive technologies attorney in LA, which basically means my practice revolves around helping people have babies through assisted reproduction. You know, surrogacy, egg donation, sperm donation, that kind of thing. In this episode, we're going to talk about what makes gender selection possible in IVF. We'll talk about different types of testing and screenings, and we'll talk about considerations about gender selection. Let's dive in. So, is gender selection possible? Well, the answer is yes. Gender selection is possible, but gender selection is typically never the ends to a mean. It's just a byproduct, so to speak. Here's why. Gender selection is really possible through IVF pre-implantation genetic testing, like PGS or PGD. So pre-implantation genetic screening and pre-implantation genetic diagnosis allows you to pre-screen an embryo for genetic abnormalities, chromosomal abnormalities, and to see if there's anything that puts that embryo at risk for some type of abnormality. Now, with that, you also find out what chromosomes are in that embryo. Now, the result of that is, yes, you can determine whether this embryo has two X chromosomes or an X and a Y chromosome. Now, what I've heard many people say is, I want to have my embryos tested just to find out what the genders are. Well, typically, you won't find embryologists or doctors who are open to that because PGS and PGD do pose some risk to the structural integrity of an embryo. And unless we're really checking for abnormalities or dangers, most embryologists don't want to put the embryo at risk just to find out what the gender is. However, if you are legitimately wanting to screen your embryos for defects, then yes, finding out the gender is going to be a byproduct of that. However, I should give you a fair warning. PGS and PGD, like any other medical process, cannot guarantee you 100% accuracy. Yes, there have been times when embryos have been screened and they present as female or they present as male, and it ends up not being the case. There is a margin of error. So if you're going into it just to find out if you can have a boy or a girl, I think twice and make sure that you're doing it for the safety of the future child and not just because you want the gender that you like best. I'd love to get your feedback on this whole concept. What do you think about pre-screening the embryos and getting the gender determined? If you're looking to go through surrogacy or you're looking to do IVF, is that something that you'd be willing to do or that you're looking to do? Let me know in the comments below. Now let's talk about some considerations for gender selection. And remember, when I say gender selection, I'm talking about a legitimate reason to pre-screen your embryos, but also getting the information about the gender of the embryos. So let's look at some things to consider. Number one, cost. There is a cost associated with PGD and PGS. Some people believe that there is a legitimate consideration for gender selection when they're considering different types of illnesses or diseases that certain genders are more predisposed to. For instance, there are certain gender-linked illnesses or disorders like hemophilia or muscular dystrophy or Fragile X. And knowing there's a way to avoid these illnesses if it is a recessive trait for one of the parents could make it an actual legitimate option for choosing or preferring one gender over another. But most people, and definitely my clients, typically prefer family balancing as a reason for really choosing a gender over the other. You know, some people prefer to have a basketball team of children. They want a great mix. And some people really feel like it's awesome to just have son-daughter tandem. So whether parents prefer all boys or all girls or a mix, for a lot of people, it's really about creating the balance in a family that they're looking to grow. But the final consideration that I'll talk about is an ethical one. We can't talk about anything related to assisted reproductive technologies without always bringing in the ethical side of the story. And for many people, they believe that gender selection or choosing a gender or favoring one embryo over another based on the gender of the embryo is simply gender discrimination. There are people who hold the belief that choosing a certain gender baby is placing a value on one gender over the other, and it raises concerns on what'll happen to the unused embryos of the opposite sex. So I'd love again to hear your comments below on what you think about parents who grow their family through IVF and surrogacy who choose the gender of their child. If you're looking to grow your family through assisted reproductive technologies like surrogacy, then I have something for you. It's a training that I call Surrogacy Secrets, and it's where I walk you through the surrogacy journey of many of my clients and what we've learned through hundreds and hundreds of surrogacy journeys about how to do it best, how to do it safest, and how to do it in a way that lets you keep your sanity, not lose sleep, time, or money. If you want to get your hands on that, just click the link below and you'll get access to Surrogacy Secrets. See you in the next episode.